Each year, the Product Agility podcast goes on tour. We get to go to some of the best conferences and interview some of the most influential speakers out there. And this year is no different. We kick off our TalkInTen initiative for 2024 by visiting Lean Agile London. Lean Agile London is a fantastic community event which has a lot of soul and a lot of energy to it. They've also attracted some of the best speakers I've seen on a lineup for a long time. Over the next few days, we are going to be bringing you as many of these speakers' talks in 10 as we possibly can do. Each of his episodes will be recorded on the ground in the moment, so you may hear some background noise. I hope that adds to the ambience and makes it feel like you're there with us. This episode of the Product Agility Podcast is sponsored by Aha Slides, your solution for more engaging and productive team meetings. Transform your team's learning experience with Aha Slides AI-powered tools designed to quickly generate quizzes and interactive content. Boost engagement and efficiency in one go. Well, what more can you ask for? Visit ahaslides.com and use the exclusive discount code ProdAgility2024 to get 50% off of all yearly plans. Now, shall we get on to our TalkInTen? So now we are recording, and if at any point you want to go back and redo, just let me know, it's fine. We can always go back, I can edit stuff out, etc, etc, etc. Okay, are you ready?
Yes.
Well, this is a turn up for the books. It's not very often that after a conference, I then get to still record Talks in 10, but Lean Agile London 2024 was so full of amazing talks and workshops, I just couldn't get around and speak to everybody. And one of the people that I didn't get to speak to, although I must have passed in various corridors numerous times, was Katrin Wellmann. And Katrin had a workshop at Lean Agile London, which it relates to the title of this episode, funnily enough, which was, and let me just make sure that I'm going to get this right, Agile Leadership, why it's more than just a buzzword. And I think this is a lovely, very provocative title for a workshop, and it's going to be a great talk in 10. So Katrin, welcome to the podcast. Excuse me. Welcome to the podcast. Would you mind introducing yourself to our listeners?
Thanks, Ben. Thanks for having me. And yes, of course. Hi, I'm Katrin Wellmann. I'm with Lead Forward in Berlin, Germany, which is a transformation consultancy. We mainly advise on leadership development and change management, transformations, and strategy activation. And I myself, I'm a officially professional Scrum trainer with Scrum.org for Agile Leadership, with evidence-based management and product ownership, as well as other classes I teach. But let me say this, Ben, I'm agnostic when it comes to frameworks, whatever works for a client. And for me, an organization is like an individual and needs individual treatment. Whatever works for the client seems to be the current truth. So I have a different toolbox also. I'm a systemic coach and change manager, and also lean change manager. And I've had leading roles at big consultancies like Infosys and Accenture, leading and supporting big scale transformations, and sometimes they fail. I've learned a lot from that, as have my colleagues and the agile leaders I have met. So when I joined Lead in January as a new partner, I felt, okay, let's talk about leadership. And Agile is part of it. The mindset is part of it, whether we're in an Agile transformation right now or not.
Lovely. So your workshop had around 40 people attend, which is a phenomenal number of people to attend a workshop, particularly at a conference. So well done. It must have been good. And I think that's what I'd love to learn more about for me, but also for our listeners, for everyone listening to this, wherever you may be, whatever you may be doing, is your workshop had 40 people, a range of people, you said, from agile coaches to product managers to project managers, maybe some scrum masters there as well. And it was how, Agile leadership is more than just a buzzword. So can you tell us the structure and what made your workshop so successful?
Well, of course, I was happy so many people showed because then it can become really interactive. Um, well, my main point is that we all talk a lot about wanting to go away or having for agility, business agility to work, having to go away from the command and control leadership mindset. But we don't know where to and how to. So I wanted to really give some impulses on the where to, command and control, what is the new. And from my point of view, I will tell you right now, I feel it's target, trust, and track. That should be the new mindset kind of motto. That was the one thing. And the other thing was really looking at a model that has been disregarded by agilists all over the world, although it's quite well being used in change management contexts. And that is the Ken Wilber's integral model, which is a synthetic meta theory developed by Ken Wilber. And we use that. Looking at the 4 different quadrants, it shows on the internal subjective individual view, on the external objective individual, and the collective of both of these. So landing at I, we, it, and its. Looking at transformation always with these 4 perspectives, and identified where is maybe our own agile leadership, our own agile transformation in our org lacking. I'll explain more in a bit if you want.
Yeah, please. No, it's interesting. I mean, I have heard of the integral model in the past, but not for a long time. And I will, Katrin, I'll get a link from you so we can make sure that goes into the show notes. And you also mentioned target, trust, and track. Now, I can use my imagination as to what target, trust, and track means. But is that related to the integral model, or is that something that you just covered within the workshop in addition to it?
Yeah, well, it's kind of an outcome when we spend time thinking about our approaches and going away from command and control, and what does it take for the organization to be ready for agility? What does it take for me as a leader to show agile leadership? Then we come through this work. I came to the target, trust, and track as a substitute for the command and control. And of course, whichever framework or whichever approach, if you're using Scrum or an Agile Kata or any kind of scaled model to deliver your Agile transformation, it will always be about, okay, let's target together what is the next experiment we can do, what is the next step we can reach, and then trust the person you have employed and are paying good money for the job to get there. But of course, check in regularly, early and often. That is the tracking part, together with that person you've trusted and you've aligned the target on. Check if the target was hit, track what the experiments on the way there brought, pivot or persevere. Was your hypothesis proven or disproven? That is what you do. And if I may now go back to the Ken Wilber's model, what we see here is like on the right side, it's it and it. So it means on an individual level, we have skills, capabilities. We can enhance those by training and learning. Or on the collective level, we have tools and structures and processes and operating models. And oftentimes when I, as a leader, enter into an agile transformation, I focus mainly on that right side. I want to enable people by training to do Scrum or whatever. I want to set up new processes and structures. I want to build agile operating models. There's a lot of attention on the right side of this model. The left side gets neglected or forgotten, and this is where the real strength in change lies. My theory is we will be more successful in delivering agile transformations, walking that path which never ends, if we pay more attention to the I and the we, and I being, what are my motivations? What is the true purpose? What are insights? What I need? Intellect, emotional values and beliefs as an individual leadership person to deliver that. And on the we, there is culture, leadership, team building, there are leadership values. There's maybe a change story, a vision behind the change, the transformation itself. And if we start looking more on the left side, we can support the transformation to agility from all aspects and thus tackle it more successfully.
Holistically, I suppose. Systemically, you might say.
Yeah, holistic and systemically.
I know we're running out of time. I find it difficult getting my headspace into a TalkInTen mode rather than a podcast interview mode, and hence I've made lots of notes. So we have to get you back on for a longer episode. I'm wondering, in a very short period of time, could you give everyone an overview of the arc of your workshop so that people can get a feel for what it was like?
Sure. First, of course, I wanted people like a bit like training from the back of the room to remember what they already know about the topic. So I had them do some impromptu networking, answering the questions. What is already working for me? What do I already have in my pocket? What is helping me with Agile leadership? And the second question, of course, being what stands in your way to successful Agile leadership? After that, we had a look at the integral model, at Ken Wilber's theory, and identified, okay, where are we usually moving in our Agile transformations or our attempts at Agile leadership? And then third, I had them again group in threes for peer consulting, and they told each other challenges they had in real life and gave each other advice, always having the Ken Wilber model in the back of their mind. So they could give an advice saying like, I feel you've set up operating model, but have you looked at individual motivations for this change? So that worked well. The feedback of the participants was that they really drew some actual value out of it. And we ended with, of course, the awareness that each one of us needs to create their own leadership stance, or be it a manifesto or whatever you want to call it. One of them could be target, trust and track, and others, of course, came up with things like empowering and enabling over deciding and directing, or measuring impact over reporting melons, and so on.
Watermelons. I love watermelon reporting. I was just looking at our choice of clothing today and did kind of wonder, like, if I'm like, you know, maybe
we're
some
green
kind of
inside.
Yeah, I did know. Oh, yeah, maybe some kind of blood orange. I'm the outside and you're the inside. I'm not quite sure. For those of you that aren't looking at the video, maybe you haven't been on LinkedIn. Follow us on LinkedIn if you're not seeing the video or snippets of the video. Katrin's got a lovely red top on. I've gone for a very bright orange one. I'm not quite sure how well they go together, if I'm honest with you. But that as an aside. Katrin, thank you so much for coming on and giving me a sliver of your time outside of the conference. Is your workshop something that you run remotely or offer?
Yes, remote and on-site offering of the workshop, or a different kind of workshop of what other organizations may need with regards to leadership. And of course, in England or Britain or Germany, we are very open to customize.
Awesome. So I'm making that here. So Katrin, thank you so much for coming on. I'll put your, we'll make sure your LinkedIn link is in the show notes. Yes. And hopefully our paths will cross again at some point soon. Are you going to any more conferences this year?
No, not this year, but I'm sure to attend the Lean Agile London next year again.
Yes.
Great plan. And thanks for having me, Ben.
Oh, it's been a pleasure. And everyone, thank you very much for listening. But we'll have a few more TalkInTen kind of dripping out over the next few days, where we just catch up with some of the speakers and workshop facilitators that we didn't get to see during the conference. So make sure you stay tuned and follow us on LinkedIn, or subscribe to us on Hit the Bell on your podcast platform of choice. So thank you very much for listening. And Katrin, thank you for coming on. This has been the Product Agility Podcast.